hailing back from the days of Meteorot 3 and representing Genbu, the mythical black tortoise. It is GNB00 Basalt, with the kit of Destroy, Double Guard 500, Biped legs, and the leg ability of Hoplite, which buffs the leg's resist stats for every defense part equipped on the build. Now, as another returnee from the days of old, it seems very apparent that Imagineer and Meteorot are trying to gear a lot of the focus and shift that towards defenders and shielders, as referenced and obvious by Basalt here and other previously defense-based models such as Jackal and Virgo, who also are MC-capable defender types designed to tank blows for the team. This Genbu type, however, is definitely taking this in his own style, and most certainly as expected of having an absurdly high armor rating and a very good defense performance across the board. Destroy on the head part is a melee-based variant of the skill that is a gambling kind of attack, but if done correctly, can be absolutely catastrophic to the enemy team. If you do manage to catch a foe in their heat phase or their cooldown phase, correctly targeting the part that they are going to use or have used respectively, or if you are intercepted by a shield that is non-meta change type, you are instantly breaking the part in question, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But if it does not meet any of these three requirements, it is just a very basic attack across the board at normal to minimal damage at best. Guard 500 on both arms is a defense-oriented part that, once activated, Basalt will place his butt on the center line to intercept any and all incoming blows for his allies until either the arm breaks or until he is cancelled or expired. In addition to this, Guard 500 will also negate about 500 or so damage, as denoted by the name off the top, before any other damage reduction skills come into play, making him most certainly a much heavier tier and heavier armor defender type compared to most others. Of course, this does also mean he can be weak to anyone using Destroy, as his head part ironically does have, or anyone using an ailment to try to cancel him. Biped legs also means he will have pretty solid coverage across most terrains, as Biped have arguably one of the best well-rounded leg types for terrain matching and compatibility. And when it comes to specs across the board, it's most certainly no question why he's packing such a heavy armor rating like he is. With a head HP of about 3100, arms about 4800 each, and his legs at just shy of 4000, very, very healthy HP pool right from square one, which means he is absolutely designed to take a hit, keep on kicking, and keep that damage as low as he can get it. Plus, it also only makes sense more so that even though his mobility is kind of in that middle ground sweet spot at about the mid 700s, and his evade also at just shy of 800, it does mean he's not going to be focusing too heavily on speed or dodging, but given that he is a shielder type, that is to be completely expected. But with a melee resist of almost 1200 and a shoot resist of a little over 1200, he's most certainly packing some very healthy skills across the board to help keep his damage as low as possible. And that's not even including if he's on the line in defense stance at that point. Now, it is also worth noting that Basalt can transform into a meta change type form by pulling in his body and shedding the turtle shells on his arms, while becoming more of a chariot type of design. In this form, he really doesn't change his kit out all that much, aside from exchanging Destroy for Sword. Guard 500 will remain on both drives B and C. His leg type will change to Tank, and his leg ability to Super Armor, which will render him immune to paralyze ailments a certain number of times. And this actually will cover very well, actually, for one of the major weaknesses that Basalt has. Even though Guard 500 can be very tanky and well useful if under the right circumstance, this does also mean that he can be cancelled by anyone using an ailment. This includes Bug or Virus, Slip or Flash just to auto-cancel him, or even using Shock or Freeze or something similar to break him out of defense stance and get past him. But with Super Armor, that is no longer the case, as he is now immune to them as long as he remains transformed. Plus, exchanging Destroy for Sword does mean he does have access to a more conventional form of combat if he does have to maintain an offensive role on the field, if for whatever reason. But having Guard 500 in both normal mode and MC mode does make him very versatile as a shield, depending on how you need to use him. And the tank legs on top of that give him even more damage reduction across the board while he is in defense stance. On the topic of his stats, most obviously his HP will be very, very healthy at a little over 16.5k, but that is also not including any HP chips that anyone may decide to add to him, easily putting him over 20k if they pack him up with full HP chips. A mobility of 728, he does cost a little bit of mobility to use, as he was in the mid 700s before, but honestly, not a lot, because that 30 points you really won't notice on the field if I'm being completely honest with you. But his reduction stats at 1638 for melee resist and 1759 for shoot resist does mean that his defensive orientation does most certainly go up, making him even more viable and desired as a shield while in this form. All this being said though, as a pure set score, I do very easily have to rate Basalt a very solid 8 out of 10. And normally for tank types or guard types like this one, I tend to grade them rather harshly as expected of previous videos and previous opinions, but Basalt's one of those models that actually makes it work moderately well for what he brings to the field. In comparison to Jackal or even Virgo, who are also MC-capable defense types, Basalt actually excels where they don't. Now, even though someone like Jackal may certainly have the speed advantage, he's most certainly lacking the resist stats, which means a really good couple hits will take him out moderately well. And Virgo, not as much the same case, but given that she does transform into a sea-legged type, that does honestly hurt a good chunk of her viability because she is kind of losing a little bit of her speed and her resist stats while transformed. However, Basalt, on the other hand, makes it very clear right from start that defense is his game, and he is going to be very, very good at it. So having guard 500 on more than one drive, or apart in some cases, makes him very versatile as a very reliable shielder depending on how you use him. As mixed parts, I do have to rate him just a little bit lower at about a 7.5 out of 10, and I had to really talk myself into that one in order to be fair about it, because even though you aren't missing out on a lot with the lack of his meta change form, aside from changing Destroy for Sword and his leg ability from Hoplite to Super Armor, he's actually pretty versatile across the board for what he offers, whether that be as a pure set or as mixed parts. If you're looking for a shielder that can tank blows or have a leg ability to complement him, you really don't have to look any farther than Basalt, because that is his name, that is his game, and much like the Tortoise of legend that he does represent, there is nothing that's going to get past him as long as he's on the center line.